So have you recently started a ketogenic lifestyle and now you're trying to figure out how the heck am I going to stay keto during the holidays? Are you kind of afraid to be tempted by those desserts, carby side dishes, and that desire to just feel like everybody else? Today we're going to talk about how you can stay keto and keep living the benefits of keto during the holiday season. Hello, wellness warriors. Welcome to Mind Blowing Health and Wellness with Violet. The reason I make these videos is to help everyone to understand that when mental health and physical health are working well together, we experience that overall sense of well being that we are all looking for. If that's something that you're working on right now, subscribe because I make new videos every week. So, this has been a bit of a strange year this year because so many people have been getting ill, whether it's someone that you know or you're hearing it from friends about people that they know. We've been having to manage that it just isn't safe to be outside and be around other people. And yet we are social animals, and that's all we really want to do. Now, the governments have been taking different strategies to help us to deal with this, and their focus has been on diminishing the amount of spread of disease. And because that's their focus, it means that a lot of us have been living in isolation. So it's been devastating for a lot of us. And depending on where you live, the amount of isolation that you lived in the last 10 months has been different. So I live in Montreal, which is in Quebec, Canada, and many cities in Quebec have been touched by this situation, means that there are a lot of red zones happening. And as soon as there's a red zone classified, it means that we are in lockdown, really restricted movements, basically only out for work, and only the people going out for work are those essential services. Now, what this means for us during Christmas is that our government has decided that we are not allowed to gather for Christmas in any place that's considered a red zone. And in the places that are not considered red zone, there's still restricted gatherings, which means like maybe 10 people ish max. How is this affecting everyone's mental state? It's different for everybody, but a lot of us are not managing this well. And what happens when our mental state is affected? Then the way that we manage our emotions starts to be affected. This is one of the first times that we've been restricted in our ability to see family, friends, and really just have a break during the Christmas holidays. And emotionally, we're struggling. We're being faced with having to change the way that we do our traditions. So we're not going to be able to open presents together. We're not going to be able to do whatever it was that we normally did during the Christmas holidays. And it's not just about celebrating Christmas. That 2 weeks off that we get throughout Canada during that period of time is a chance for us to take a break from work and just focus on family, friends, connecting. Again, humans are social animals, and this is so important for us to do. As you can imagine, the changes or restrictions, I should really call them, that the government is putting in place means that there's a lot of people who are, for the first time in many years, maybe first time in their life, being faced with being alone during this 2 week period because there's zero gatherings allowed in the red zones in Quebec. I don't know how the rest of the world is managing this. I'm sure there are other places that are doing similar, even if not as restrictive things, where the gatherings are being limited. And it does mean that for certain people who cannot travel to see their family and they're not going to be included with their friends, this is going to be a very emotional, isolating, sad Christmas for many people. Christmas, New Year's, that 2 week period of time. So, what happens when we're not able to engage those traditions that we normally engage during the holidays? Well, part of those traditions is that they help connect us together, right? Help connect us to our past, our history, help connect us to the people that we love in this period of time. And if we're not able to engage those activities that we normally engage, that introduces change. Now, change for a lot of people causes stress. Change for a lot of people becomes quite emotional. So it's not only the isolation that we're dealing with, but also the inability to do as we normally do. And that change is also going to create a problem for many people. All of these issues that I'm talking about right now are increasing the possibility of emotional eating. So, what are we going to do to help ourselves to manage that increase in emotional eating? And one of the things that's so scary is that emotional eating sometimes is so under the radar because we're so used to doing it that even someone who's got really good intentions ends up engaging in poor eating behaviors because that hit of emotion that they get, not knowing how else to manage how they feel, and they go for comfort foods. They go for that thing that just allows them for a moment to feel better. But then the negative. You feel guilty, you possibly feel physically bad, and you are reintroducing possibly metabolic issues that you are trying to solve. So, for those of you in the position where you will actually be alone over the holidays for the first time this year, I want you to set yourself up for the best possible success by setting up a plan for the holidays, which means having a holiday menu that allows you to stay on track with your ketogenic lifestyle. If there are any traditional meals that you can make in a ketogenic way that will allow you to engage in that holiday behavior and yet still stay on track, I encourage you to do some research from today and make that recipe. Like for me, immediately, I'm thinking about all the meats. So the turkey and the ham and possibly any other meat that you tend to make during the holidays. I know my mom makes chicken, all these meats that I could still make and have available to have on Christmas Day, even if I'm making a smaller amount because we're less people. That having that variety and it still feeling like a feast is going to help me to feel like I'm engaging in a traditional Christmas. And for those foods that are not falling in line with your healthy ketogenic way of life, finding foods that you actually like that you can swap out those poor foods for, like I'm thinking cranberry sauce, or I'm thinking like all the pies and cookies and cakes and all of these treats that we would normally eat at Christmas, the sugary treats. Finding healthy things that you are currently eating that could be a swap. Like maybe during the holidays, I might allow myself to have some nuts, even though I keep them minimal because chasing carbs, but maybe during the holidays, I might allow a small amount. Like finding those things that you feel that are going to help you to feel like I did have something that was different or interesting, but I can manage to have it and keep myself in line with my healthy way of eating, which means that I am going to be paying attention to how much I eat, right? I'm going to weigh and measure like I normally do, just that I'm eating foods that are a bit more in line with tradition, or I'm eating things that I swapped out so that I can have something interesting to eat on this holiday period of time. Now, this is one day we're talking about. So I don't necessarily need a lot of those things. I can choose to have one or two things that I think I might want to have rather than having cookies, cakes, cheesecake, soda, like trying to replicate every single thing that I would have had over the holidays back when I didn't understand how food was harming my health. Choosing a few things that I think I'd be happy to have. Right now, I'm thinking about even meat sticks. So, beef jerky and these kind of things that I do find fun to eat. I don't have them often because they're processed, but maybe in this situation, I would allow myself to have that. But like I said, finding fun things that you could eat that lets you have a little bit of fun and still stay in line with your healthy ketogenic lifestyle. In order to celebrate and have a satisfactory feeling Christmas, if you're the kind of person where food was a part of that story, figuring out how to do it with your healthy foods is going to help you to feel more satisfied with the way that your Christmas went. Now, the other thing that I want you to think about is planning to have contact with your loved ones, with your family and friends. Now, again, we're in a red zone here, so I can't travel and go see my family and friends. I can schedule phone calls, I can schedule video calls, I can do things. I can keep in contact by text and stuff with my younger nieces and nephews who are into that. Making sure that we are connecting during this period of time and that we feel like even if we can't physically be there, that emotionally we're there. Sometimes we have family members who live around the world and they can't be home for Christmas, but we still connect with them. I think this year it's even more important to do that. And another thing you can do to really make the holidays feel like the holidays is schedule a video call for the opening of the actual gift. Especially like if you have little people that you normally would love to see them open the gift and see the look on their face when they get what they get, by scheduling a video call so that we can actually kind of be there even if we can't be there, it's going to help you again to feel more connected to the situation and to get to see that cute expression on their face when they are so happy to receive the gift you've given them. So I think there's so many things that we actually can do to help this year's Christmas feel like a Christmas. And for those of us who actually engage in online video game play, I think this is another great place where we can use something that we do in a social way anyways and incorporate it into our Christmas day or Christmas holiday way of keeping in contact. How cool would it be for everybody in the family to get together and play that favorite online game. And honestly, it doesn't even matter if you're good at it. I think if we're playing together as a family, it might be kind of fun and cool to try to teach auntie how to shoot with her gun and like whatever. Just the fact that we're willing to give things a try and make an attempt to make things this year feel better. And so now for those of us who are in the scenario where you have multiple people living in the same home, or you're in a neighborhood where you actually can gather for Christmas, the other thing that I want you to think about is the fact that you might actually get tempted by the foods that the people who are not keto in your family will be eating. Again, all of those traditional foods will be present during your holiday celebrations. And now the question is, how do you manage being in front of those foods without eating those foods? So right now we're talking about our motivation to remain keto. And I really think it comes down to understanding why you decided to live this ketogenic lifestyle in the first place. Because likely you were trying to solve some kind of metabolic issue. And eating off plan will reintroduce the toxin that was causing that metabolic issue. We need to keep it in mind that eating off plan often leads people to fall back into their carb addiction, which leads people to live several days eating off plan. Now, sometimes it causes them to leave keto indefinitely, which means that I'm harming my health indefinitely. Whether or not it's been some weight loss, mental clarity, maybe your skin's cleared up, maybe your insulin resistance is starting to lessen, and you can tell that because you're not chasing food as often, or even better, that there might be some internal cleanup that we can't even see with the naked eye that's really impacting your life as your health is improving. Keeping these ideas in mind is what's going to help you to maintain that healthy way of eating in the face of these tempting but damaging foods. Because if you eat off plan, you are absolutely going to interrupt those benefits. And as I said earlier, maybe even stop those benefits for an indefinite period of time because you'll be eating poorly again, which means that eventually, if you stop for an extended period of time, you will need to once again restart keto. And for some people, that's a struggle. But let's for a moment talk about those people who, for them, it's easy to start keto. They can just get right back in. It's no big deal. They do it easily. Is it okay for you guys to jump in and out of keto whenever there's a holiday or anything that you feel like, "Oh, I don't feel like being keto right now"? And I'm still going to say no to that. And here's why. How do I know how many times I can actually stress the system before it won't actually recover anymore, right? If I keep reopening the same wound over and over and over again, how many times can I do that before it becomes an infection? And then I need external help like medication or medical attention to heal that wound. Well, when I'm doing this internally, I can't even see when it's taking me longer to recover, right? Because if I can just go back and forth between the foods easily, it doesn't necessarily mean that my body is actually reacting that easily. We need to keep it in mind that damage is damage, and the body will need to repair the damage. So eating a toxic substance like sugar leads to damage. I'm really cautioning everyone to prioritize your health over the taste of food. Now, the other benefits that you're going to get from actually maintaining your keto lifestyle throughout the holidays is the amazing benefit of being at a stable weight through the holidays and possibly even losing weight over the holidays. How often do you get to say that you lost weight over the holidays? Not many people get to say that, which would also mean that your body gets to continue to feel good, right? The aches and pains that you were living from the other way of eating aren't there. And you feel amazing and get to not have to do the recovery of having eaten the wrong food and now maybe your elbow's hurting again or your back's hurting again, or maybe you're having irritable bowel syndrome again, or all the negative things that can happen when we don't eat properly. To be able to have the holidays come and go and be able to be guilt-free about what I ate over the holidays is a beautiful gift to give yourself. And the best way to have that is to plan what you will eat. Plan for the fact that there will be other foods available that could be tempting to you. And so keeping these ideas about being healthy in mind are going to be key. Plan to have a fun, safe, and most importantly, healthy food keto Christmas. If you want to work on your health even more, these videos on the screen are going to help you to maintain a physical and good mental health. I want to thank you for watching Mind Blowing Health and Wellness with Violet. Wellness Wear is always happy that you come back. Everyone else, thanks for joining me today. If you want t shirts, they're in the description below. Thank you to my patrons. I can't wait to talk to you guys again next week.